Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Someone, please throw in the chat if you can hear me. Awesome. Thank you all so much for being here today. My name's Tyler Hack. I'm the Executive Director of Christopher Street Project. I'm so happy you're here tonight. Thank you to every single one of you watching, all of the speakers and all of our partner organizations who made this program happen, particularly Planned Parenthood Action Fund, Interfaith Alliance, Outvote, Popular Democracy, and Our Revolution. Happy Pride and welcome to Pride is Power. Before we begin, I want to make a quick accessibility note and let everyone know that we have live captions available throughout tonight's program. You can turn them on at the bottom of your Zoom screen in the meeting controls toolbar, click the show captions icon. And if you don't see captions, click the more icon and then click show captions. They'll automatically appear above the meeting controls toolbar, and you can use the gear icon to change the language and caption settings. We also have Spanish interpretation available, and if you go to interpretation, you should be able to find that. If you're having trouble, please send a message in the chat and say, I need Spanish interpretation, and we'll make sure you get set up. Tonight, we have an extraordinary lineup. You'll be hearing from Senator Ed Markey, Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva and Pramila Jayapal, Assemblymember Claire Valdez, State Representatives Lee Finke and Donovan McKinney, Councilmember Emma Curtis, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, Senate Democratic nominee Graham Plattner, content creators Robin of Pull-Ups Pasta Politics and Christian Shearhod, actress and Broadway performer Peppermint, actor and activist Mark Ruffalo, and video messages from Gretchen Whitmer, from Congresswoman Sarah McBride, and Governor Andy Beshear. We'll also have Kevin Davis and a few other folks hopping on. I am so grateful that you're here. And before we really jump into the program, I want to ask a simple question. How do we turn pride into political power? And please feel free to share your thoughts in the chat throughout the meeting. Visibility alone isn't enough. Our community has marched, we've organized, we've shown up in the streets and in the ballot box for decades. And what do we have to show for it? We have more people out there than ever before and more visibility than ever. But the attacks keep coming and they are getting worse. The Trump administration has moved to legislate trans people out of existence at a pace this country has never seen. They're targeting our healthcare, they're targeting our civil rights, our right to exist as who we are in schools, in our workplaces, and in our own communities. They're coming for our doctors and our families. They're trying to erase us from public life entirely. What protects our rights is political power, the power that we create in order to have champions in office who will fight for us. And not just when it's popular, but when it's hard. Not just during Pride Month, but every single day of the year. That is what Christopher Street Project was built to do. We exist to give our community the power to elect bold champions who will defend trans rights, protect healthcare access, and hold the line, even when it's not convenient. And I'm really proud to tell you tonight that we're already winning. In Pennsylvania, Chris Rabb, the dad of a genderqueer kid, beat the Philadelphia Democratic machine, defeated 3 opponents in a competitive primary, and will be on the ballot in November as one of the most progressive voices this party has seen in years. In New Jersey, Dr. Adam Homowy, a plastic and reconstructive surgeon, an Army combat veteran, and a gender-affirming care provider, won a 12-candidate Democratic primary and will be the next congressman from New Jersey. And in New York, just last week, 2 incredible candidates won their primaries. Brad Lander won his primary with 2/3 of the vote, and Claire Valdez, who we'll be hearing from a little bit later, won with 58% of the vote in a 3-way race. These are our champions, and these wins are proof that our movement is growing, that organized people beat corporate money, and that when we show up for the right candidates, we win. So tonight, we're going to talk about how we win all the way through November and beyond. Before we jump into the first speaker, I want to make a direct ask for all of you. Everything you just heard about, our wins, the champions, and the movement we are building, none of it happens without resources. Christopher Street Project runs on the grassroots support of members of our community just like you. And tonight, we're asking you to invest in this work. Our average donation is just $35. Please use the QR codes on the screen to make a donation if you wish to. We're also holding a live auction throughout the night to win 2 free tickets to Titanic on Broadway. Thanks to our friend Frankie Grande, you will get premium tickets with backstage access and a chance to meet Frankie. So please follow the link in the chat to place a bid. Now, our first speaker tonight is someone who has spent her time in office proving that leadership means showing up for everyone. As governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer has been an unrelenting defender of LGBTQ+ rights, fighting back against attacks on our community, protecting access to gender-affirming care, and making it clear that in her state, trans people belong and trans people are protected. As governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer banned conversion therapy for minors, signed legislation making it easier for Michiganders to change their name and gender on official documents, and expanded the State Civil Rights Act to ensure that no one can be fired from their job or evicted from their home for who they are or how they identify. She did all of that while other states were moving in the exact opposite direction. So she's the exact kind of leader this movement needs more of. Please watch this message from Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Hello and happy Pride. I am honored to kick off Pride Month today with the Christopher Street Project. Since my first year in office, we've made LGBTQ+ protections a priority, and we continued that work every year since. I'm proud to say that we fought against attacks on trans Michiganders. We amended the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act to ensure no one can be fired or evicted because of who they love or how they identify. I was the first governor to march in the Motor City Pride Parade and the first to fly the Pride flag on a State of Michigan building in 2019. I was raised with the belief that every person deserves to live as who they are. Today, I'm talking directly to our neighbors, family, and friends when I say I will always fight for your freedom and safety. Remember that you belong, you matter, and I've got your back. Happy Pride.
Amazing. That is exactly more of what we need in this moment. Our next guest is an independent voice who actually makes politics make sense. Robin is the political journalist and content creator behind Pull-Ups Pasta Politics, a platform dedicated to breaking down policy, legislation, and government action into clear, accessible content that helps everyday people to get involved and to take action. At a time when so many people feel locked out of the political process, she is throwing the doors open. We are so glad to have her with us tonight. Please welcome Robin.
Hi. So this is a story I wanted to tell you about what it means that when we say we take care of trans rights, it takes care of all of our children. So my daughter is in college now, but when she was in middle and high school, she had 2 students that were coming up that were just starting their journey, in their transgender journey. And the school really wanted to support them. And so the first thing they did was they changed the dress code. It used to be that the dress code was either for boys or for girls. And they made it so that as long as you were adhering to the dress code, it didn't matter which gender you were. So a couple of things happened. First of all, the kids that were going through their journey, they got to show up as themselves. The parents felt a big sigh of relief. They had peace knowing that their children were going to school to show up as they wanted to, and that they were being supported. And then a lot of other kids benefited from that. So like my daughter didn't love wearing dresses at the time. So she could now wear suits to the graduation. She could wear them to concerts, to all sorts of events. And there were some boys that, wanted to have longer hair and wear earrings, because not all of our children fit into these little boxes that we've created for them. The second thing that they did was they had single stall bathrooms that were all over the campus that were really for the faculty. And they converted those into all gender bathrooms. And it was such a great thing because these transgender children were asking for that, them and their parents. So they had a safe place to use the restroom. But then there were lots of other kids who needed to have privacy from time to time. So that expanded everybody's access to what that they needed. So this call is asking, how do we turn visibility into political power? Now, we were very fortunate that we had someone that was in, leadership that wanted to help the trans community, but we cannot build a movement on luck. So we need to first make people understand that this is not someone else's fight. This is all of our fight. When trans children, when transgender people, when they have access, it helps all of us. And so it is up to us to make people understand that. It is up to us to demand that our elected officials do the same. And I know that our elected officials can win. I know that they can push to make sure that we still have access to healthcare and accessibility. And I know that this is just something that we can do. And I hope that you will join me in making sure that everyone understands that we cannot sit this one out. And next, I want to introduce a really amazing content creator, Tevin Davis. He is a dynamic, multidisciplinary artist who captured the national attention as a breakout star on season 46 of Survivor. He has built a platform on blending humor, political satire, which we all need right now, and truth-telling in defense of democracy. So take it away, Tevin.
Thank you so much, Robin. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Tevin Davis. I'm an actor, a singer, influencer, widely known for my impersonations of former Vice President Kamala Harris, and I'm a previous contestant, as mentioned, on season 46 of Survivor. And I'm so grateful and honored to be here tonight and to be with so many incredible people, the leaders, advocates, creators, and apparently even the Incredible Hulk, who you hear from later. So y'all know this conversation has some real power behind it. But this conversation is so much bigger than just 1 month, one moment, or one celebration. It is about what we do with our pride after we leave this call. Pride is what happens when you look at the parts of yourself that the world tried to make and hide, and you choose to honor them anyway. Refusal to be made small, and the courage to be seen fully, loved fully, and protected fully. Not because someone finally gave it to you, but because you finally stopped waiting for it. And right now, that same courage has to become action. This regime right now is made this community a target, especially trans people. They are turning people's lives into campaign slogans, fear into policy, and using Christian nationalism as a cover for control. They scream about LGBTQ indoctrination while trying to force Bible verses into classrooms and chip away at the separation of church and state. And I love God in a mighty way, but there is a difference between discipline and disciple. Those words may look the same, but they mean two completely different things. To discipline someone into faith is not the same as discipling their heart. And if you choose to use faith as force, scripture as a sentence, and God as a weapon against the very people that he told you to love, then the cross you wear is not the same cross that Jesus chose to bear. And while they have people worried about the 1% of trans people that might be in the bathroom, they are not worried nearly enough about the 1% of men who are definitely in the boardroom making decisions about you, your money, your body, and all facets of your life. They want to use shame to build power, so we have to use pride to build our power. And I have turned pride into my own little acronym, which is power rooted in defiant existence, because that is exactly what it is. Nobody wakes up and volunteers to be the problem. Nobody wants to be chosen to be targeted, lied on, mocked, and treated with disdain. But people wake up every single day and choose to live truthfully anyway, because that is who they are. And there is so much power in that. My platform is all about joy because I believe that joy is resistance. Joy is revolutionary. Pride is revolutionary. And being part of the LGBTQIA plus community in a world that keeps trying to shame, smear, silence, and legislate you into fear is revolutionary. So do not let them convince you that exhaustion is surrender. You can be overwhelmed without being overcome. Let your joy fuel you. Let your community stand and steady beside you. Let your pride become more than a feeling. Let it become an action. It's going to take all of us. And as I always say, it has to be everything, everywhere, all at once. And no, we cannot all do everything, but if everybody does something, everything gets done. Somebody can sing, somebody can cook and let food bring people together. Some people can donate if they can, please donate. Some people can create, organize, protest, knock on doors, make calls, drive somebody to the polls. Everybody has something. And when everybody brings their something, we have a movement. And that work cannot end when June ends. Our rights are not seasonal and our power cannot be seasonal either. That means we have to vote down the ballot, not just for president and governor, that's great, but in local elections too. Every vote, voice, and every act of courage is one more way we can keep the light on for each other. And as I mentioned earlier, I was previously on season 46 of Survivor, and in that game, fire represents your life. And when your torch goes out, your game is over. And after that, Jeff says, the tribe has spoken. But in this world, the only person who can extinguish your torch is you. So do not hand them your fire. Do not let them convince you that fear is more important. Do not let them make you shrink. Do not let them convince you to put your own torch out because the world was already bright enough. They can draft policies. They can run campaigns. They can twist scripture. They can build the fear machine, but they cannot extinguish a fire they did not give you. So keep your torch lit. Use it to light the way for somebody else. And when they ask, how did you keep showing up? How did you keep standing tall and holding on to joy in the midst of cataclysm? Let the answer be oh so very clear. Our pride has spoken. So thank you all so much. And as you leave tonight, continue to let your power be rooted in defiant existence. Happy Pride.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I am really excited about our next speaker. She made history last week, and she's already on this call to keep fighting. Assemblymember Claire Valdez is a union organizer and the Democratic nominee for New York's 7th Congressional District. She just won with 58% of the vote. And she has been in office for 2 years now, representing New York's 37th State Assembly District in Albany. And New York voters showed that proudly standing for trans rights is not a political liability. Claire centered a trans Bill of Rights in her campaign because she knows that no one should be fired from their job because they're trans. She stood with 988 workers at the Trevor Project fighting layoffs. She stood against the cancellation of healthcare appointments for trans young people at NYU Langone. And her victory proves that voters are ready to support leaders who are clear about their values, are willing to fight, and are ready to center trans rights. Please welcome Claire Valdez, and congratulations on your win.
Thank you so much, Tyler. Happy Pride, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here with you all this evening. Tyler's an incredibly warm introduction. I feel like there's nothing else for me to say. My name is Claire Valdez. I'm the Democratic nominee for New York 7, that's Queens and Brooklyn in New York City. And before I was involved in politics, I was a union organizer with UAW. And that's really where I learned that solidarity is absolutely our greatest strength. It is our power as working people. And what solidarity means is that everyone has to link arms in moments of crisis. Everyone has to link arms to fight for each other, no matter where you come from, who you are, because we have bosses and real villains to take on this moment. The Trump administration has decided that they're going to try to scapegoat trans and queer communities, but it's not just the Trump administration. For so long, Democrats have also run away from the idea that our trans and queer siblings deserve equal rights, deserve equal access to healthcare and dignified housing, deserve exactly the same things as everyone else. And those days are over. Like Tyler just said, we won a commanding victory by centering a trans Bill of Rights, by centering the Equity Act, by centering our trans siblings in every single way that we talked about what our political futures are, because we know that they are so inextricably linked. I was proud to stand with CWA workers, the Trevor Project workers that Tyler mentioned, 988 workers who were laid off by the Trump administration, not just because those were workers in struggle, but because those were workers who are standing up strong against the fascist administration and for trans youth who need support in real moments of crisis. We know that our struggles for workers' rights are inextricably tied for the fight for dignity for all people. And that's exactly what we're going to be centering and fighting for when we go to Congress. There's so many races happening right now, and we have such an opportunity to make sure that in every single way that we are fighting, whether it's for Medicare for all, whether it's for affordable and permanently affordable housing, that we're not leaving anyone behind in those conversations, because we know that we have the power, we have the resources in this country. What we've lacked for so long is just political will. And like I said, those days are done. We know what we have to do. We have to organize, we have to fight. And especially, calling from New York City, where the Stonewall riot happened, where it has been the center of so much queer and trans organizing, for trans liberation for years and years. We know that our communities are powerful, and that when we organize, when we fight back, we win. It's really wonderful to see so many people on this call tonight. There are many more races happening across this country, and we have such an opportunity to change the face of Congress, to put real fighters in place who know that solidarity is our strength. And so I'm really excited, not just that we won this race, but that we're really building a block of true, proud fighters in the days to come, to take on this fascist administration, but to win the world that we all know that we deserve. So I think I'm passing it off to, I'm getting a signal.
Yeah, so sorry. Our next speaker is running a few minutes behind, but thank you so much, Claire, for joining us. You're the best, and we're so excited to organize with you next year.
Thank you all so much, Solidarity Forever. And thank you, Christopher Street Project, for all of your support in this campaign and all the organizing you do across the country. Incredible work, and happy Pride, everyone.
Thank you. Happy Pride. It's only the beginning. Our next speaker tonight made history before she even cast her first vote in Congress. Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva represents Arizona's 7th Congressional District and is the first Latina ever elected to represent Arizona in Congress. She's also Christopher Street Project's very first endorsee. From her very first speech on the House floor, she made her priorities crystal clear, declaring we need to stand up for LGBTQ+ rights, because that's what the American people expect us to do. Fight for them. Since then, she's fought for our community, speaking on the floor and in committee against anti-trans legislation, and fighting for funding when Republicans attempted to defund a public library in her district just because they hosted a drag story hour years ago. She is exactly the kind of champion and the partner that we need to elect. So please welcome Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Buenas tardes. I want to thank Christopher Street Project and our dedicated co-host, Planned Parenthood Action Fund, Popular Democracy, Our Revolution, Interfaith Alliance, and Our Vote for organizing this vital gathering. As we gather tonight, we're closing out Pride Month. We also are answering a central question that will define our future. How do we turn pride into political power? For decades, the transgender community has shown up, marched, organized. That visibility is beautiful and is necessary, but visibility alone is not enough to protect our families. We are at a critical moment where our community is under a sustained and coordinated attack. Under the current administration, we have seen anti-trans legislation accelerate in an unprecedented pace, from targeting life-saving healthcare to stripping away civil rights in our schools and workplaces. There are politicians who are quite literally trying to legislate trans people out of existence. This fight is not new to me, but the stakes have never been higher. For more than 20 years, I fought for LGBTQ+ youth and families in Tucson. When I ran for Congress, the Christopher Street Project was the only national LGBTQ organization to stand with me. They personally came to Tucson to support me, canvass and knock on doors, and 109 degrees, a balmy 109 degrees. I'm incredibly proud to be their first ever endorsed candidate. I know firsthand that what protects our rights isn't just a march, it's a political power. We need a pro-trans majority in Congress, bold champions who will stand firm even when it's not politically convenient. I am ready to work with Christopher Street Project to build a coalition in Congress that will organize for trans rights in 2027. Christopher Street Project exists specifically to build that majority and hold every single one of us in office accountable to the people we serve. All of us have a part to play in this fight. Our rights are on the ballot this fall, and none of us can afford to sit this election out. But we cannot build power without you. I'm asking you to turn your pride into direct action by supporting the organizations on the front lines, those like the host tonight. Volunteer for the candidates who are fighting for our community. We need you to knock doors, make phone calls, and share the message. Most importantly, stay engaged. Too many people disengage once that pride flag comes down at the end of June. But the fight for our lives and our rights continues year-round, and it's a fight we must win this November. La pelea por nuestros derechos continúa todos los días, no nomás esta mes. Let's turn our pride into the power we need to win. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. And happy Pride.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. You are absolutely amazing, and we're so grateful to you and your whole team for being such amazing partners. Our next guest is the first openly trans person to ever win a city council seat in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Councilmember Emma Curtis was elected to the Lexington-Fayette Urban County Council in 2024 and has spent every day in office fighting tirelessly to protect and advance the rights of our community. She is proof that our community can win anywhere. Please welcome Councilmember Emma Curtis.
Hi, thank you so much. And thank you to the Christopher Street Project for having me. It's a joy to be with y'all today. And the central question of how do we turn pride into political action has been on my mind for some time. Before I was in elected office, I was working as an advocate for trans people in healthcare, and also being heavily involved in local activism and working to stop anti-trans legislation that was picking up steam in my home state in Kentucky. And I learned the hard way that though I was visible in that role, I wasn't necessarily bringing representation. And these two things that we so often use synonymously don't actually equate to the same thing, right? And so this feeling of powerlessness that I had, I decided to channel into a run for office. And at the time, I was told time and again that my gender was a liability, that the fact that I was trans meant that I couldn't succeed, and especially not in a place like Kentucky. And that was not just coming from Republicans, that was coming from Democrats too. All too often, I think we have a tendency to not recognize in our party that sometimes the call is coming from inside the house when it comes to anti-transness. And so looking at that moment in time, it would have been very easy for me to run away from who I was in order to try to succeed. And I didn't run for office because I'm trans, but I've also never run from that fact either. And I wasn't about to start because I was going to run for office. And so I focused my campaign on issues that were going to impact 100% of my constituents, whether that was our broken streets and roads, whether that was the fact that nobody can afford housing in my district anymore. And my opponent decided to make her primary argument in the campaign that folks should, quote unquote, vote for the real woman in this race. And as you can see, she's not here right now. We won, and we won successfully. And so what I learned from that was that transphobia is not a winning strategy. And that when we have this power that we're given, and I'm blessed enough to have in representing roughly 30,000 of my neighbors in South Lexington, is that we can create tangible change in symbolic ways, whether it was leading the effort and making Lexington the first city in Kentucky to ever recognize Trans Day of Remembrance, and having that order signed, in fact, by our Republican mayor, or whether it was the fact that in Kentucky this past year, I was able to work with some remarkable advocates and allies in the state legislature who helped us defeat every single anti-LGBTQ bill that was filed in the Commonwealth of Kentucky in 2026. That is what turning pride into political action looks like. It looks like creating that representation and not just in a sense of visibility, but in a sense of who is representing us in the halls of power. Because I think we all know that the best defense against anti-trans bills is just the presence of a competent trans person in the room. And barring that, it is the presence and advocacy of allies who've taken the time to actually listen to and get to know trans folks and understand the intricacies of our lives. I'm very lucky to have that in my governor in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, who you'll hear from at some point tonight, Governor Andy Beshear, who's taken the time to get to know me and to know several other trans folks and actually listen to us and advocate for us. And that's why the work that the Christopher Street Project is doing is so, so important, because we are not going to make tangible progress in a legal or political sense for us without electing more trans folks and more allies who are actually taking the time to center our experiences at every level of government. So if you can, please support them tonight. Find those candidates in your areas and show up, show out. This is not the time to run away from who you are. It is the time to run into the fight because of who you are. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Councilwoman. I am so excited now to have Claire Valdez's Christopher Street Project and Justice Democrat slate mate, State Representative Donovan McKinney, who is running in a safe blue seat in Michigan, where there is a no-show incumbent who has thrown trans kids under the bus and anyone that he deems as politically convenient. So we are really excited to be standing behind Donovan, to be supporting him in his election at the start of August, and super excited for you to hear from him. This is State Representative Donovan McKinney.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Christopher Street Project. So honored to be amongst you all. And happy Pride Month. And I'm running against an incumbent, like Tyler said, that in December of 2024, right when Democrats were scapegoating trans kids for their loss, voted for an annual defense bill that stripped military families of coverage for health care for their transgender children. These are people who have served our country and who just want their children to have access to life-saving health care. I'm running for Congress because our community deserves a representative who will stand up for trans kids and their families, not abandon them when their rights are put to a vote. So I'm so grateful for Christopher Street's project support, because they know we don't just need Democrats, we need better Democrats. And when we take the majority, because I served in the majority for Michigan, I'm going to say right now, the majority means nothing unless you have the right people in that majority. And so we need you all to step up and continue to be the voices you all know you can be, and utilize your voice by utilizing your vote. And so I'm just so honored to be here. I'm so excited. I wish I could stay a little longer. I'm literally at a town hall right now in the district, so I can't stay for too long, but just thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for, you all support. And then more importantly, thank you so much for your advocacy. And we're going to be fighting alongside with you. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Representative McKinney. We are now going to hear from Councilwoman Curtis's governor, Governor Andy Beshear, who has shown what it looks like to fight for trans kids, not when it's easy, but when it's hard. So we have a recorded message because he couldn't be here tonight.
Folks, I'm Andy Beshear, and I'm the proud Democratic governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. If you don't know me, I'm the guy who won in deep red Kentucky in 3 straight elections. I beat Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump's hand-picked candidate by 5 percentage points. The next year, Donald Trump won Kentucky by 31. So I am living, breathing proof that the right candidates can win anywhere. Folks, I won re-election as a pro-diversity, pro-LGBTQ+ rights governor of a deep red state at a time when people were questioning if that's still possible. Now, some people might have told you that somebody like me can't win in a place like Kentucky. I'm living, breathing proof that it's possible to win anywhere by standing firm on values of compassion, of empathy, and of doing right by our neighbors, all of them. No exceptions, and certainly no discrimination. Thanks so much for inviting me to speak to you today, and thank you for the work that you do, especially right now, as your rights are under attack and that we as a country are slipping backwards. The theme of the call today is turning pride into power. I want to be clear. There should never be a false choice between rejecting discrimination and winning elections. Your rights as people, they are not negotiable. They are not a sacrificial lamb. They are not a bargaining chip. And they are not some political sciencey issue to debate on cable news. The idea that discrimination is wrong should not be a partisan issue. Discrimination is wrong because it's wrong. And it's the opposite of a basic tenet of my faith, loving our neighbors as ourselves. When I was up for re-election, Kentucky's Republican supermajority put the nastiest piece of anti-LGBTQ plus legislation in the country on my desk. I guess I'll give them this. At least they were honest. They straight up said that they did this to try to beat me in the governor's race. And I had tens of millions of dollars in negative ads ready to go. And you know what I did? I still vetoed it because there are some things worth losing over. The bill was mean, and I hate bullies. I thought about the kids across Kentucky that the bill would affect, and specifically one middle schooler in Louisville. Middle school's already tough. It's a whole lot tougher if your state legislature's trying to tear you down. So if the legislature's going to show them hate, I was going to show them love. If their legislature's going to show them discrimination, I was going to show them acceptance. See, in my faith's tradition, we're called to love our neighbors as ourselves, to judge not lest we be judged, to accept one another as Christ has accepted us. There are no asterisks, no exceptions in any of those passages. There's no comma unless you're this or that, comma unless they don't look like you, vote like you, pray like you, or unless they don't love like you. We're simply called to love and accept people as they are. So again, in the middle of my re-election campaign, I vetoed that nasty anti-LGBTQ plus bill. And the day I vetoed it, the Kentucky Republican Party put out a statement that said, and I quote, that my veto may very well be remembered as the day Andy Beshear lost his bid for re-election. You know, in 2019, I won by 0.4%, with just over 5,000 votes. After those nasty ads and that quote by the Republican Party in 2023, I won by 5%. That is a landslide for a Democrat in Kentucky. So I hope this is a lesson for other candidates and elected officials. From the bluest districts to the reddest states, stick to your guns. Accept people as they are. Reject discrimination and win elections. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. I am so excited to welcome our next speaker, who's running one of the most exciting campaigns and one of the most exciting Senate races in the country to flip a seat blue in Maine. Graham Plattner is a lifelong Mainer, a Marine Corps veteran, an Army veteran, and an oyster farmer who has made defending LGBTQ plus freedoms a cornerstone of his campaign. He's the Democratic nominee taking on Susan Collins in Maine's U.S. Senate race, a race that will determine the balance of power in the Senate and the future of our rights at the federal level. And Susan Collins has been doing everything she can to torpedo our progress, refusing to support 988 funding for that dedicated Press 3 option for LGBTQ plus youth callers. It couldn't be more important to get her out and get a champion like Graham in. I was fortunate enough to actually go up to Portland, Maine, like 2 weekends ago and march in Portland Pride with Graham. And the response I saw was really unlike anything I've ever seen. And folks are really fired up. They're ready to not only vote, but to organize to defend their communities, take back our rights to abortion, to LGBTQ plus rights. And there's only one person who's going to do that. So please welcome Graham Plattner.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Tyler. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for everyone that's tuning in. I mean, Tyler kind of mentioned there the necessity of winning this race. Susan Collins really has become just the sort of rubber stamp for the Trump administration. She will always pretend to stand up for things that allow her to create this vision of independence or of being a moderate, but only when it doesn't count. And she's done this now throughout her entire career. And at this point, it's become, I think, very clear to anybody paying attention that her entire role is to continue to empower right-wing conservative politics in this country with this sort of air of independence that we all now know is completely untrue. And that's why we have to beat her and turn the Senate blue. But what I really want to talk about tonight is power. Because at the end of the day, we are not just talking about winning one U.S. Senate seat. And in many ways, we're not even just talking about retaking the United States Senate. We're talking about building the power necessary to build a movement to take back the future of this country from those who, frankly, are willing to throw anyone under the bus in order to either protect their own personal political power or to protect the wealth that they have been able to hoard, or the hoarding of wealth by those who they represent. That is not simply a electoral project. We are engaged in something much, much deeper. And the reason it's a real pleasure to be here for this conversation is that I think we really need to be thinking about all of the issues that we hold near and dear, whether it's social issues, whether it's economic justice issues. We need to understand that the only way that we get to make any of this a reality is by building power at this moment. So in the coming years, we can seize it and wield it for the purpose of good. That is going to take a lot more than just winning Senate seats. It's going to take a lot more than just winning House seats. So it is imperative that we understand that to win these races, we have to do what's been being done quite recently, really doing old-fashioned organizing, getting people connected in their communities, having people learn the skills necessary to build power at the local level, and then we can build on top of that. It's how we're going to win races here in Maine. It's how we just saw people win races down in New York. And as we move forward, we're going to do this all over the country. It's the only way that we're going to be able to build power for working people. I firmly believe that a politics that cares about working people is a politics that cares about everybody. I don't believe that there's any place for this willingness to sell people out, this willingness to discard or throw away groups of people in our society for this sort of short-term political gain. Politics that's willing to sell anybody out will eventually sell everyone out. And that is a politics that we must fight doggedly against. And the way that we do that is by taking power away from the institutions, taking power away from the consolidated places of wealth in this country we have allowed to see that power consolidate for generations. And they're not going to give it to us. We're going to have to fight it for it. And we're going to have to build a political movement from the ground up. And luckily, people have been engaged in this for a very long time. And we just now need to scale all of this up. And so for those who are watching tonight, donating to Christopher Street, donating to organizations that work in this space, trying to build power. At the end of the day, hiring organizers costs money. Giving people the support they need to run for office, giving people the support they need to take leadership roles in their communities. All of this requires resources. And the organizations that are working at this now, they're the ones that we need to kind of really coalesce around and move into the future. But this is not simply a project of going after places of electoral power. We need to think of all of this in a much greater power building context. And I firmly believe that the only way we're going to do that is by engaging people the old fashioned way, getting folks engaged in their communities, building that power up. That way, what we build can last for much longer than just one election cycle. Because the truth is, we're going to need this for many, many years to come. The fight's ahead of us. The fight for a better future, the fight for a future in which everyone is treated with equality and dignity, that is going to be a long fight, and it's going to require everything from all of us. That is the age that we have entered. And as terrifying at times and as frustrating and as scary as it can be, just understand that this moment in history is a moment that we get to change the direction that we have been on. And it's incredibly important, and I'm really excited to take part in it with all of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Graham. We're so excited to be supporting you and excited to take this home with you in November. Please make sure to support Graham. They have phone banking, canvassing, donating. There are so many ways to support, and we really need a bold Democratic majority to be able to take back power. I also want to reiterate our ask tonight. It is so important that we actually build political power, because what you're seeing tonight is political power and what it looks like when our community has investment. Every candidate we just heard and every champion on this call got here because people showed up with their time, their voices, and their dollars. We need you to do the same. Please remember to follow the links to make a contribution to Christopher Street Project. Every dollar we raise goes directly to supporting efforts to elect more champions, reach more voters, and build a movement that doesn't stop when June ends. And also a reminder that you can bid on those tickets to Titanic and meet Frankie Grande and their amazing cast backstage. I'm really excited for our next speaker, who's actually someone who flew all the way from Los Angeles to join us at our Trans Day Visibility Conference in DC in March. He's a math teacher who's built one of the most influential and supportive platforms on social media. With nearly 2 million TikTok followers, Christian Shearhod has spent years using his classroom and his camera to fight for LGBTQ+ students in and out of school at a time where teachers across this country are being targeted simply for defending their trans students. We are proud to have him on this call tonight. Please welcome Christian Shearhod.
Such a kind introduction. Thank you so much. And I know we're all online, but I can just sense kind, beautiful people in here. You know what I mean? If you don't know me, my name is Christian. I go by Mr. Shearhod online, and I'm a teacher from Los Angeles, best known for teaching an extremist ideology to my students. And no, I'm not talking about assigning genders during class or doing sex change operations during lunch. I'm teaching kindness. Kindness towards everyone, including LGBTQ people, which isn't to favor the gay or the trans kids, but to give them a place to feel comfortable enough to be themselves. Something all kids, including trans kids, deserve. A place where they can take pride in themselves and who they are, which, as all educators know, can go a long way for a child. A major component of whether or not someone succeeds is whether or not they believe in themselves. Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And that's what makes pride powerful. First and foremost, pride, by definition, is a belief in yourself, to believe that you are worthy. Second, it's a belief in your friends and your family. Third, and probably most importantly, what makes pride special is it's something no one can take from you. It's something that has to be given up. So, believe in yourself, stand up for your neighbor, and I've got some bad news for anyone who stands against trans rights. We are not giving up, we're not sitting down, we're not shutting up, and we're definitely not being compliant. Pride doesn't end on June 30th. Pride is year freaking round. So, show up to the marches, show up to the parades, it's cute, it's fun. But yo, show up to the polls too, please. And you know what? Maybe run for office. What's the worst that could happen? You don't win, you don't become a councilman? Yo, I'm not gonna lie to you, you're not a councilman right now. So what does it matter? Well, most of us aren't. There's some in here, maybe. But yeah, let's show up and make our country a kinder and more inclusive place to live. And not just for the trans adults right now, but for the trans trans kids in school right now who can't. They don't get a vote. They don't get a say. You do. So let's use it. I just want to say I am so thankful to be a part of the Christopher Street Project, getting to speak. Thank you particularly to Tyler for having me. And thank you so much for the trans community for letting me share my voice, my experiences in your space. Love y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Christian. We're so excited to have you here and for your continued partnership with us. Our next speaker is a true icon of our community, the first openly trans woman to compete on Drag Race. And she made history when she became the first trans woman to originate a principal role on Broadway. She spent years raising awareness about HIV/AIDS, speaking out against violence targeting Black and Brown trans women, and using her voice to uplift the stories of our community that we too often don't get to tell. So we're so honored to have her here with us tonight. Please welcome Peppermint.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. What a fantastic program this is. Y'all really put this together. Come on, Christopher Street Project. Can we get some love in the chat? I'm Peppermint, and I'm so happy to be here with everybody today. We were asked a prompt about how to turn pride into political power. And I think in order to answer that question, I would want to answer the question or ask the question, how did pride start? There's a lot of people that don't really know the history, and Pride was a riot, basically against the anti-poor, anti-POC, anti-Black, anti-trans, anti-femme laws and policies and the law enforcement practices that were in place in not only in New York, but all across the country. And then I asked myself, what was Pride most recently? As I was growing up, Pride was definitely a queer celebration. And the definition of pride is probably different for everyone, depending on what they need or where they're from, But I would say the main focus of Pride was definitely visibility, and joy, of course. Those are like the bare minimums. But I do think that there's an element of Pride that became too corporate. And I'm speaking as someone who was just in the New York City Pride Parade as Grand Marshal. I also see now some people are trying to separate the trans community from the rest of the LGBTQIA plus community. So here's a couple things. If you are an ally to the community and you want to know how you can be better involved, in addition to supporting Christopher Street Project, you should know, like if you find yourself in some kind of wild argument with an aunt or uncle or family member this fall or this summer, whenever, cisgender people happen to use more gender affirming care in all its many forms than trans people do. That's just a fact. Most people don't even realize that gender affirming care is actually health care. That's another important thing that people should just know. It's as simple as that. I want to say that I love being trans, and coming into my transness is the best thing that has ever happened to me because it's allowed me to become who I was always meant to be. It's as simple as that. And trans people want and need the same things that everybody else wants and needs, like affordable housing, healthcare, job security, food and safety, physical safety. And I think a lot of the anti-trans policies and even sentiments have become barriers to those things, even indirectly. So here we are. What is Pride right now? I think Pride should continue to be a movement that focuses on joy and visibility, but also the needs of marginalized people as it began. It needs to be a pro-Black, pro-trans, pro-disabled, pro-immigrant, anti-war, pro-labor movement, taking the cue off of the trans community in the UK and following in the footsteps of Harvey Milk in San Francisco. The trans community needs to, I believe, connect itself to the labor movement in order to build political power. So that's my answer to how we can turn pride into political power. Thank you so much to everyone that's here and supporting. I hope you continue to support organizations like the Christopher Street Project, because we see that there's so many executive orders and policies that are extracting and blocking money and funding, federal funding, from supporting organizations that support the community, like Christopher Street Project. So that's super important. And I want to say thank you to everyone here at Christopher Street for continuing to do the work that you've done. And I'm forever grateful. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Peppermint. You're the best. We're so grateful.
My pleasure.
And for all of the work that you do every single day. I now want to share a message from someone who embodies everything we're fighting for tonight. She made history as the first openly trans person ever elected to Congress, and she's been fighting for our community every single day since she got there.
And
Please
she's from my home state.
And she's from your home state. Please watch this message from Congresswoman Sarah McBride.
Hi, everyone, and happy Pride. Or should I say happy Pride, Nancy Mace. We are living through a critical moment for democracy in this country. I don't have to tell you all that. The rights and freedoms that generations before us fought to secure are under attack. Trans people are being targeted. Our healthcare is on the chopping block. Politicians in DC are trying to legislate who we are and who we're allowed to be. Pride has always been about visibility. The courage to step forward, to tell our stories, and to refuse to be erased. That visibility has changed hearts, opened minds, and transformed our country. But visibility alone is not enough. The question we have to answer right now is, how do we turn that visibility into political power? Since January of 2025, despite an onslaught of attacks because of good organizing in and outside of Congress, we have been able to prevent every single anti-LGBTQ bill and major provision from becoming law. But we need reinforcements. That is what tonight is about. That's what Christopher Street Project is building. They are working to elect fierce champions to Congress who will fight for our community, protect access to healthcare, defend our civil rights, and refuse to back down when we are under attack. Because we need leaders who understand that equality cannot be merely celebrated in June. It must be defended in every vote, reflected in every policy, and affirmed through the everyday work of organizing, persuading, and governing. And we should never mistake the cruelty of this moment for the will of the American people. Most people do not wake up wanting politicians to take healthcare away from their neighbors or make life harder for vulnerable kids. They want leaders who solve problems, lower costs, protect freedom, and bring people together. That is why we cannot surrender the language of freedom, of family, of fairness, because those values belong to us too. And when we organize around them, we do more than defend our community. We build a stronger, more compassionate democracy for everyone. Politicians have no business dictating who we are or who we are allowed to be. The only way we stop them, though, is by building real, durable political power. That work starts with all of you. Find the candidates who are fighting for our community and support them however you can. Stay engaged way beyond Pride Month and support Christopher Street Project because your voice matters. Happy Pride, everyone. And let's turn our pride into power and use that power to build a country where every single person can live freely, safely, and authentically.
Thank you so much. We are so grateful to work with Congresswoman McBride every day. Our next speaker represents an amazing district in the Minnesota House of Representatives. State Representative Lee Finke is the first openly trans member of the Minnesota legislature. She authored Minnesota's landmark trans refugee law, which protects people seeking gender-affirming care in the state at a time when other states were doing everything in their power to ban it. She's the founding chair of the Minnesota Legislature's Queer Caucus and serves as the chair of the Reproductive Freedom Caucus. She's shown what it looks like to get into office and immediately get to work and support other candidates who share our values up and down the ballot. We're so happy to have her here with us tonight, and please welcome State Representative Lee Finke.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Tyler, for that wonderful introduction. It's an honor to be here with you all tonight. As you heard, my name is Lee Finke. I use she, her pronouns, and I represent St. Paul in the Minnesota House of Representatives. I'm just going to jump right into this because you've heard from a lot of people, and we just know what we already know, and we don't have to repeat. Things for the community at this time are bleak. They are tough. We're probably going to get some really rough news tomorrow from the Supreme Court. We heard about the court's next one case they're at least taking next year to continue this conversation about taking away the rights of transgender people. We are seeing transgender people on the street attacked indicted, given unbelievably lengthy sentences down in Texas. Our community is at the forefront of every fight that's taking place right now. And we are under attack because of who we are, but also because of who we fight for and who we fight alongside of. It is extremely important to me, and I know to all of you, to make sure that we are not just fighting for ourselves, but recognizing that we are a part of this tapestry and we fight for everyone and we fight together. The power of trans people actually as organizers, in my opinion, comes from the fact that trans people belong to every single community. There are trans people in every racial demographic, every ethnic group, every country, people with disabilities, people who are billionaires, whatever. Anywhere you want to go, you can't help but find trans people. And the reality is, if we can organize ourselves along with our friends and neighbors, we can organize across every barrier in the country. I think it's incredibly important that we have champions like Sarah McBride in the Congress doing the work that she is doing. It's important to have people in the states like myself and Leash Kozlowski in Minnesota organizing for incarcerated folks like I'm doing, like tribal folks that Leash is doing, everybody everywhere all the time. That is how we fight and that is how we win. We cannot isolate ourselves. And one of the things that I learned in 23 when I came in and started working on the trans refuge bill was that you need to have strong partners in this work who are willing to go to the mat for you. And I remember saying in 2023, Peggy Flanagan will go to the mat for transgender people. And there was never been a moment or a day or a second where I did not believe that that was true. Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan is running for Senate in Minnesota. She is just a stalwart champion. I cannot even begin to tell you the value that Peggy Flanagan brings to our fight in Minnesota. And I'll tell you two things about that. The first is personal, right? Because this is very difficult work for transgender people, especially transgender women. And I spent a lot of time crying in the Capitol. I know many of us do for many reasons. But for me, it was because of who I am and what the attacks that came. And Peggy was always available to me. Sometimes I would go in her office and I would just sit on her couch and talk to her like as a human woman to a human woman who was having a hard time in politics. And she was a first before me and she talked me through this. And sometimes she wasn't there and she would just say, "You can go in my office anyways. Just go in there and get away if you have to." And that's the kind of work on a personal level that changes the way you understand politics and the work that we do. And then the next piece is just that I want people to understand that given the enormity of the challenge against transgender people being waged right now, what I consider to be an eradication campaign from the federal government to erase transgender people, full stop, many people are, if not taking back their support, they're at least wavering in their rhetoric. They're at least showing that they're taking calculation, they're following along and willing to maybe hedge a little bit in public. And that has just never been who Peggy Flanagan is. Peggy Flanagan is a sister to me, but to our whole community. And I am so proud to have endorsed her, to be in Minnesota with her, to have gotten to work with her at the Capitol. And I cannot tell you how proud I will be to see her serving in the US Senate. I know we cannot yet send a trans person to the Senate, but as far as I'm concerned in Minnesota, we couldn't do worse than sending Peggy. So I am going to turn it over to you. I love you. I'm happy to be here with all of you, and take it away, Lieutenant Governor.
Well, thank you so much, Representative Finke. I love you too, and I am so grateful to be in this fight with my sister, and we're gonna get it done. Buju, Peggy Flanagan, Adishnakaz, Gijuewedamukwe, Indigo, Guabaga, Ganikagna Dunjaba, Manganodame. My name's Peggy Flanagan. My Ojibwe name, or my native name, is Speaks in a Loud and Clear Voice Woman. I'm a member of White Earth, and my family's the Wolf Clan. And the role of our clan is to ensure that we are never leaving anyone behind, which is why I am exactly where I am supposed to be right now on this call with all of you. And I know that this feels like an incredibly heavy and difficult time I feel it as well. And I also know what we have been seeing across the country as we talk about pride being power. Pride is more than a celebration. It is about visibility. It is about community. It is about allyship. It's about protest, and it's about standing together and making sure that everyone has the freedom to live their lives safely and without fear. And my hope is that it also means that people can live joyfully in this moment. As a country, we are seeing attacks, of course, on the LGBTQ plus two-spirit communities all of the time, and especially on our trans relatives. And it has never been more important for folks to be in this fight shoulder to shoulder and together. When I think about Representative Lee Finke, what she has done has truly modeled the power of organizing and having a strong inside-outside game like we've been able to do here in Minnesota. It matters, right, that we are sending advocates. It matters that we are sending folks with lived experience into the halls of power to speak on their own behalf, but also to make sure that we are sending people who are in deep relationship with our communities together. And here in Minnesota, what that means is that we have chosen compassion over cruelty. We worked to make Minnesota a place where families seeking gender affirming care can do so and can find safety, because we believe every person deserves access, every person deserves dignity, and every person deserves to know that they belong and can live as their authentic self. And by the way, that also means people need access to health care, not just health insurance, full stop. That is a fight that is worth fighting, that we will continue to work on. But I have heard from so many parents and so many families, just even yesterday as we were marching in the parade, who stopped me to say, we just moved to Minnesota because we knew that we would be safe here. And one of the things that I always tell families, and I told a family yesterday, was welcome home. We've got you. But here's the deal. You should be able to live anywhere you want to in this country and know that you will be safe. And so that is the work that is ahead of us. It is the work we're doing. It is the work that we are privileged to be able to do. And I have been really clear that that means, of course, all of us staying engaged after parades and after parties are over. It is about organizing. It is about knocking on doors. It is about calling people. It is about showing up before, during, and after elections to govern in partnership together to make sure that discrimination of any kind is never tolerated, and that we have a big, beautiful vision here in Minnesota, and we want that to happen all across the country. At my core, I am a mama bear who is in this fight. I will keep fighting alongside all of you. Chi-miigwech, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. We're so grateful to have you and for your bold fight in this moment for an amazing state. I am really excited to welcome next a Congresswoman who is one of our strongest leaders in the House. She is someone who we work with day in and day out to fight anti-LGBTQ plus legislation and actually build a proactive agenda that will defend our rights and freedoms, like her bill, the Trans Bill of Rights. So please welcome the amazing Congresswoman from Washington, Pramila Jayapal.
Thank you so much, Tyler, and thank you to Christopher Street for all of the work you are doing, for bringing us together today, and to all the incredible partner organizations who are coming together to say pride is power. Yesterday was our Seattle Pride Parade, and the theme was rally. And as I was marching through the over 300,000 people that turned out into our streets to celebrate our community and to call us all to rally, I was just so filled with hope and with joy, with the beauty of our community coming together to rally, to demand better, and to stand up for each other. And I know that this is an incredibly tough time for so many, as Donald Trump and Republicans are just continuing to wage their campaign of hatred against the LGBTQIA plus community and the sustained attacks, especially on our trans loved ones, makes us infuriated. It makes us deeply hurt at a very molecular level, and in many cases, deeply afraid. So right now in my home state of Washington, there's a Trump mega donor who's bankrolling two hateful and misleading anti-trans initiatives, one that would force our schools to out LGBTQIA plus kids to their families, risking the safety of all of our kids, and the other that would force invasive and disgusting exams on every girl who wants to play a sport, just to try to target and villainize a handful of trans kids. So I want to be very clear, though, that this same Trump donor who's doing all of this is doing it because he wants to generate what he hopes will be a very big right-wing turnout to defeat another completely different initiative that would overturn a millionaire's tax that the legislature passed to fix our regressive tax system. This is all they're doing. They're distracting from what is really going on, and they want to make trans kids the villains so that millionaires and billionaires can get more. That's their agenda, and we just need to be clear about that, call it out loudly, and say absolutely no to hate in our states. But here's the thing about our Pride is Power movement. We are here together, standing up and building something different, because we know that hopelessness and powerlessness are tools of the oppressor, and we refuse to be oppressed. We are here because we know that those who fight against trans people are just jealous of the freedom that they've chosen to simply be fully who they are. And we are here because we know that a people's freedom to be who they are is not a threat to anyone else's freedom. So we fight for all of us to be free. That's what this movement is about. That's what the call to say Pride is Power is all about. Not just our opposition agenda that fight against all the things that these right-wing MAGA Republicans are doing, but our proposition agenda, right? The proactive fight for our vision of what the world should be. And that's exactly why I'm so proud to have introduced my Trans Bill of Rights with Senator Ed Markey, who you're going to hear from, to put forward our positive vision of what it looks like to secure real federal protections and a world in which we are all free. So today I'm here to just once again recommit to you that I am never going to stop fighting for you in committee hearings, on the House floor, and in the streets. And I am so grateful to you for being here tonight, for your continued partnership, for your belief in the world we are creating, and for loudly and proudly standing up for our LGBTQIA plus loved ones during Pride Month and every single month of the year. And I think I get to introduce the senior senator from Massachusetts, my incredible partner in moving the Trans Bill of Rights and a champion on so many issues, Senator Ed Markey from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Pramila. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you, because we got a great team, and we got a winning team. People think we're going to get knocked down, but we're getting up. We're going to fight, and we're going to win. That's what it's all about. And just being with you on this issue, Pramila, you're the leader, and just my honor to be your partner over in the Senate every day on this. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you to Tyler. Thank you to Christopher Street Project, Planned Parenthood Action Fund, Popular Democracy, Our Revolution, Interfaith Alliance, and everyone joining us this evening. Tonight, we say loud and clear, loud enough for everyone in Congress and the Supreme Court and the White House, in state houses all across the country, and for every American to hear. Trans rights are human rights. We stand together in solidarity with the trans community, with those who fight for their rights, and with those who have too often been left behind by a system that refuses to recognize their humanity. We are here to ensure that every trans and gendered diverse person in America can live safely, can live authentically. And that's why Congresswoman Jayapal and I introduced the Trans Bill of Rights. It's not just a framework, it is a moral commitment, a commitment that our government will uphold the rights of trans people everywhere. And we need that Bill of Rights because sadly, we know that the Trump administration and MAGA Republicans will stop at absolutely nothing to demonize and attack the trans community, to take your rights and your freedom away. Trump and MAGA Republicans have used the power of government to spread hate, to spread fear. They have used the power of the government to erase protections. They have tried to ban life-saving and medically necessary healthcare. They've tried to keep kids from playing on school sports teams. They've tried to strip anti-discrimination protections for individuals with gender dysphoria. They think LGBT stands for let's go back in time. We're not going back. We're not going back to a time when there were no rights enshrined into law for the trans community. And why? Well, because when they fail on healthcare costs, when they fail on raising wages, when they fail on lowering grocery prices, they look for someone to blame. And as the spineless politicians, which they are, Trump and MAGA Republicans decided that they will blame the trans community. And we know the powerful truth, and it is one we should make the law of the land. We know that trans people have the right to live free from discrimination. We know that trans people have the right to live free from violence. We know that trans people have the right to live free from government intrusion into their bodies and into their lives. We must affirm that right to gender affirming healthcare, the right to accurate identity documents, and the right to fully participate in school, in work, in public life, just like anyone else. To all trans people joining tonight and all around the United States, I want you to know that you are seen. I want you to know that you are valued. And I want you to know that you are loved. To the families who love and support their trans kids and loved ones, you are on the right side of history. And I will always stand and fight with you. And to Trump and the MAGA Republicans who think they can push trans people out of American life and out of existence, I have a message for you. We are louder, we are stronger, and we are not going anywhere. We will keep fighting until every trans and non-binary person can live without fear, without discrimination, and with the full promise of equal rights that they deserve. And Congresswoman Jayapal and I are going to keep fighting, and we're going to be aligned with Mark Ruffalo and with all of the others who are on this call, but all across the country as well. There is a fight to be made, and we're going to be there in that battle. So I thank everyone who's joining us tonight, and I thank you, Tyler, so much for all of your historically great organizational work.
Thank you so much, Senator Markey. We are so grateful to have you. We have one more speaker, but before he hops on, I just want to plug one more time. Please donate anything you can. Again, our average donation is $35. We are a movement powered by people. So if you can go above that and support those small dollar donors, or if you can give $35 or even $10, please give what you can. Donations are matched tonight, and we're really grateful to the support that you can offer so we can elect and re-elect amazing champions like Senator Markey, Congresswoman Jayapal, and all the amazing folks you heard from tonight. I'm really excited about our last speaker. There are a lot of celebrities who support our community, but this next speaker actually shows up for it. From bringing the AIDS crisis to life in the normal heart to speaking out against anti-LGBTQ+ legislation at every opportunity. He has used his platform he has had time and time again to fight for the dignity and the rights of LGBTQ+ people. And I'm really proud to call him a member of our movement and the broader progressive movement in fighting for change and a new, bold Democratic Party that takes back the majority and stands for marginalized people everywhere. We're so glad to close out tonight's program with him and really grateful for him for being here. So please welcome Mark Ruffalo, and please show him some love in the chat. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Thank you, Tyler. And thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. This is such a special and important event. And we're talking about celebration, but we're also talking about fighting and what it's going to take. I'm Mark Ruffalo, and I'm so proud to be with my LGBTQ family, friends, and loved ones. Our pride flag hangs in our window at our home all year long to show the world that we are here and we are always here, and pride is something that we share every single day. It's a celebration. It's a celebration of identity, the extraordinary courage for people to live openly and authentically in the world today, and to be to be allowed to be who you are. It's a celebration. And but this celebration was born from resistance. I had the great honor of playing Larry Kramer in The Normal Heart, and I became very good friends with him, and I learned so much about activism, about fighting for the people you love from him. I think about him often. It was his birthday on the 24th. And he told me that we cannot stop fighting for who we love. And there's young people now. We've enjoyed a decade of decades of freedom based on the resistance that people fought. There's young people now who don't remember the AIDS crisis, but that crisis made the LGBTQ community come out with pride to tell the world, this is who we are. We're not going to be in the shadows anymore. And we've made huge advances since then. And this is part of the march of civil rights. This is part of the promise of America. The promise of America is that we turn away from the bullshit. We turn away from the regression. We turn away from the prejudice. We turn away from the evil. We turn away from the cruelty. And we move towards a more perfect union. And that's what we're celebrating 250. Don't let Trump and the MAGA steal what the importance of 250 is. It's progress of the people. And this is the progress that we are making right now. So this is a great celebration. And enjoy yourself and be joyful in who you are today. But also know that there are times when we have to fight for each other. We have to fight for these rights that we enjoy, for this freedom we enjoy. The world calls upon us at times to dig deep inside of us and unify. And this is one of those times. So we have to build political power in this moment. We have to build an army of organizers that will go out and motivate this vote and hear our voices and push our agenda and make sure that the people that we are voting in will actually do their jobs. Brad Landers, Zoran, we have all of these incredible new fighters for us. But the one thing we know, and Brad Landers said it, we have to fight, not fold. And I think we've become too accustomed to our leaders not fighting for us in Congress. We had Ed Markey and Representative Jayapal on today. They're fighters, but there's a lot who don't. And so in this next election cycle, we have to build political power across the LGBTQ plus community. And we have to hold these representatives accountable. And we have to vote for the ones that we know will fight for these rights. So I'm going to ask you to do a few things now. One is to go and donate to the Christopher Street Project. Anything you can give right now, any little bit. I mean, it's a Starbucks coffee or you know, a subscription on to Substack or whatever. Go out and give a little bit today. The other thing is organizing. We have to build a force of organizing. That's texting, that's writing postcards, it's making phone calls, it's doing door-to-doors, it's getting out in the streets, it's telling our stories, it's being together. And it's not losing hope. If you're losing hope, then you're not doing enough. That's what I have to tell myself all the time, because these are despairing times, guys, and we're fighting a lot. But if you're losing hope, you're not doing enough. And there's a concerted effort to make us feel like we can't win, that the negativity is beating us and will always beat us. But we're winning every single day. And the more we resist, the more we come together, the greater we are and the stronger we'll be. So I'm going to ask you to, once again, make a donation, knock doors, call, but most importantly, vote. It's so easy to be demoralized by this political system. And we see in the last election that millions of people didn't come out because they were demoralized by our leadership. But we can't fall for that again, because we will get the world that we allow to happen. And that means that we have to go out and vote, and we have to take up this fight. And this is a once in a generation fight, and we're at it. And this in the midterms and the next presidential election will make or break our world, make or break trans people and queer people's lives and world. So we're fighting for a whole generation. So we can't sit out. None of us can afford to sit out. And when June ends, we have to show up, keep showing up. Too many people celebrate Pride, then they disengage, and the month's over. But the attacks will continue after July 1st. They're going to keep coming after this community. So this work must continue through the summer, through Election Day, and then every day after that. Pride is powerful because it reminds us that we're not alone. We're not alone. Political power is how we make sure the people attacking our communities cannot decide our futures. So let's turn this celebration into organization. Let's turn our visibility into votes. And let's turn pride into a lasting political power for our communities that need and deserve it. I love you all so much. I take so much strength from you. Your vulnerability and your strength together are two very powerful things, and they moved mountains. And now it's time to do it again. So thank you very much. Happy Pride. Bless you all, and keep fighting the good fight. We're all in this together.
Thank you so much, Mark. We're so grateful to be in this fight with you and for being here. I want to thank every speaker who joined with us tonight. And if people could stay on for just one more minute, I want to leave you with something tonight. The attacks in our community are real. They're accelerating, and they're not going to stop on their own. But I hope what you heard tonight made it clear that we are not waiting to be protected. We are building the power to fight back and protect ourselves and each other. We're electing champions who will fight for us and alongside us. We are organizing all across the country to build real political power for the trans community. And we're winning. So if you haven't yet, please donate. If you have donated and you can afford just a little bit more to match your previous donation or just give a little bit more, please do so that we can elect more amazing champions and put on more events like this. If you can't give, volunteer for a candidate who is fighting for our community. Find a race near you from one of the folks who spoke tonight and sign up for a volunteer shift and stay in this fight with us. Our rights are on the ballot, and every single one of us on this call has a role to play. Thank you so much for being here. Happy Pride. Let's turn pride into political power. Make sure to scan this QR code, submit a live auction bid, and I'm so grateful to be in this movement with you. Happy Pride. Good night.